If you want to be wealthy and happy, listen closely, because what I'm about to say will go against everything you've been taught. Most people think wealth brings happiness. They think once the money comes, peace will follow. But look around you. There are people with money who can't sleep at night. People who smile in public but are empty in private. And there are people with very little who wake up every day with purpose, clarity, and peace. So the question isn't, how do I get rich? The real question is, how do I build a life where money and happiness can exist together, without one destroying the other? Let me tell you the truth most people are too afraid to hear. Money doesn't fix who you are, it reveals who you are. If you're undisciplined, money will amplify it. If you're insecure, money will expose it. If you're lost, money will only make you more lost, just in more expensive ways. That's why chasing money alone is one of the fastest ways to ruin your life. Not because money is bad, but because chasing the wrong thing always comes with a cost. Here's something nobody tells you early enough. Happiness is not a destination. It's a byproduct. It's the result of living in alignment with who you're becoming. And wealth works the same way. People who focus only on outcomes, money, status, validation, usually end up burning out, breaking down, or feeling empty. But people who focus on identity, habits, and value creation build both wealth and happiness without chasing either. Think about this. The happiest moments in your life probably didn't come from buying something. They came from becoming something, overcoming something, growing into someone you once thought you couldn't be. That feeling of progress, that's real happiness. And wealth, real wealth, grows from the same place. Progress, value, contribution. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you must stop asking, how can I make more money? And start asking, how can I become more valuable? Because the world doesn't reward effort. It rewards usefulness. It rewards people who solve problems, who create value, who bring clarity where there is confusion. Money follows impact. Boys. But here's where most people fail. They want the reward without the responsibility. They want the lifestyle without the discipline. They want the freedom without the structure. And it doesn't work like that. Freedom is earned through discipline. Peace is earned through control. And wealth is earned through long-term thinking in a short-term world. If you can't control your time, money won't save you. If you can't control your habits, success will destroy you. If you can't control your emotions, no amount of wealth will make you feel secure. This is why discipline is the bridge between money and happiness. Discipline creates order. Order creates stability. Stability creates peace. And peace is the foundation of true happiness. Most people live in constant mental chaos. They wake up already stressed. They scroll instead of thinking. They consume instead of creating. And then they wonder why they feel behind, anxious, and unfulfilled. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you must slow down enough to regain control of your mind. Silence isn't weakness, it's power. Clarity is a competitive advantage. Your environment is shaping you more than you realize. The content you consume, the people you listen to, the conversations you tolerate, all of it is programming you. You cannot expect a wealthy and peaceful life while feeding your mind noise, negativity, and distractions. You must become intentional about your inputs. Because your inputs determine your thoughts determine your actions, and your actions determine your life. Here's a hard truth. Comfort is the enemy of both wealth and happiness. Comfort keeps you average. Comfort keeps you stuck. Comfort feels good in the moment but steals from your future. Growth, on the other hand, is uncomfortable but deeply fulfilling. Every meaningful upgrade in your life will require sacrifice. Energy. Convenience. But what you gain in return is confidence, self-respect, and momentum. Momentum changes everything. When you start keeping promises to yourself, even small ones, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and you start seeing yourself as someone who executes. That identity change is where both wealth and happiness begin. Because once you trust yourself, life stops feeling chaotic. You stop chasing external validation. You stop needing approval. You move with purpose. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you must understand this. Money is a tool, not a goal. It's meant to buy time, freedom, and options, not ego, comparison, or emptiness. When money becomes the goal, happiness disappears. When money becomes the tool, happiness multiplies. And the most dangerous trap of all? Comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. Comparison destroys peace faster than failure ever will. Everyone is on a different timeline. Everyone is fighting a different battle. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. Win that fight consistently, and both wealth and happiness will eventually meet you on the same path. This is just the beginning. Because once you understand that wealth and happiness are built from the inside out, not the outside in, everything changes. Your priorities shift. Your habits sharpen. Your tolerance for distraction disappears. And you begin to play the long game, the one most people are too impatient to win. And here's where most people get uncomfortable, because now we have to talk about pain. Not the kind you complain about, but the kind that shapes you. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you must make peace with pain, not because life is cruel, but because growth demands it. Every meaningful upgrade in your life will cost you something. The question is never if you'll pay a price. The question is what you're willing to pay, and when. Most people choose the easy pain now and the hard pain later. They choose comfort today and regret tomorrow. They avoid discipline now and live with anxiety later. They skip the work now and suffer the consequences later. But the people who build both wealth and happiness choose the hard path early, so life becomes easier later. They suffer intentionally. They struggle with purpose. Delayed gratification is one of the rarest skills in the modern world. We live in a time where everything is instant: entertainment, validation, pleasure. And that's exactly why most people stay broke and unfulfilled. They can't wait. They can't sit with boredom. They can't say no to short-term pleasure for long-term freedom. But wealth and happiness both live in the future, and only patient people ever reach them. If you can master the ability to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it, you separate yourself from the majority. Motivation is unreliable. Feelings change. Discipline is what stays. Discipline is what shows up when excitement disappears. And that's why disciplined people are calmer, more confident, and more peaceful. They trust themselves. They know they'll do what they said they would do. Let me be clear, happiness is not the absence of struggle. It's the presence of meaning. When your life has meaning, pain becomes tolerable. Sacrifice becomes logical. Effort becomes fulfilling. That's why people with purpose can work harder, endure longer, and stay focused while others quit. Purpose doesn't remove difficulty, it gives difficulty a reason. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you must stop running from yourself. Silence will force you to confront who you really are. Your fears, your excuses, your potential. That's why most people stay distracted. They're afraid of what they might discover when the noise stops. But clarity lives in silence. Direction lives in stillness. Power lives where there is focus. Look at your daily life. How much of your time is spent reacting instead of creating? How much of your energy is spent worrying instead of building? Wealthy and fulfilled people are proactive. They design their days. They protect their energy. They eliminate distractions without guilt. They understand that focus is more valuable than money, because focus creates money and peace. Another uncomfortable truth: not everyone can go with you. As you grow, your environment must change. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will call you obsessed. Some will feel threatened by your discipline. But you cannot build a wealthy and peaceful life while staying loyal to habits and relationships that keep you small. Growth requires separation. Isolation isn't loneliness, it's preparation. This is where identity truly shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to escape a bad situation, and you start seeing yourself as someone building a powerful future. That shift changes how you move. You become less emotional, more intentional. Less reactive, more strategic. You stop needing to announce your goals. You let results speak. And here's the part few people talk about. Happiness increases when you reduce unnecessary wants. The more you need to feel okay, the more fragile you become. But when you learn to be content with less, everything extra feels like a bonus. Wealth then becomes enjoyment, not survival. Money becomes a multiplier, not a crutch. True happiness comes from self-respect. And self-respect comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and don't, you weaken your confidence. Every time you follow through, you strengthen it. This is why small daily wins matter more than big dreams. Big dreams without execution only create frustration. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you must learn to think long-term in a short-term world. Most people want results immediately. They quit too early. They underestimate what consistency can do over time. The compound effect is invisible at first and unstoppable later. That applies to money, habits, confidence, and peace of mind. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to move in the right direction consistently. Direction beats speed. Alignment beats intensity. A calm, focused mind will outperform a chaotic, emotional one every single time. And maybe the most freeing realization of all is this: you don't need to prove anything to anyone. The moment you stop living for validation is the moment your life becomes lighter. Wealth feels better when it's quiet. Happiness feels deeper when it's private. Peace grows when you stop explaining yourself. This is how the inside changes before the outside ever does. This is how wealth and happiness start forming quietly, long before anyone notices. And by the time people ask how you did it, you'll realize you didn't chase either. You became the kind of person they naturally follow. And eventually, something shifts inside you. You stop asking life for permission. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You realize that the future you want isn't coming to save you. It's waiting for you to become strong enough to build it. This is where wealth and happiness finally meet, not as goals, but as side effects of who you've become. By now, you understand that money without peace is noise, and happiness without stability is fragile. True wealth is having options. True happiness is having clarity. When you wake up knowing why you're doing what you're doing, your life stops feeling heavy. Even hard days feel meaningful. Even setbacks feel temporary. That's the quiet power most people never experience. At this level, your definition of success changes. You no longer measure it by applause, followers, or how impressed others are. You measure it by how calm you are under pressure, how focused you are when distractions surround you, how consistent you are when nobody is watching. This internal scorecard is what keeps wealthy and fulfilled people grounded when everything around them changes. You also begin to understand balance, not the fake kind people talk about, but real balance. Balance is not equal time for everything. Balance is giving your energy to what matters most in each season of your life. Sometimes that means intense work. Sometimes it means rest. Sometimes it means building. Sometimes it means protecting your peace. Knowing which season you're in is wisdom. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you must stop seeing rest as laziness and start seeing it as strategy. Burnout doesn't build empires. Clarity does. A rested mind thinks better, decides better, and creates better. This is why the most effective people value sleep, health, and stillness. Your body and mind are assets. Protect them. Another powerful shift happens when you stop tying your happiness to outcomes you can't fully control. You focus on effort, integrity, and consistency instead. You show up fully, then let go. This detachment creates peace. Peace improves performance. And improved performance attracts wealth. Calm is a competitive advantage. At this point, generosity starts to feel natural. Not because you want to be seen as good, but because abundance changes how you think. You stop hoarding. You stop fearing loss. You understand that value circulates. The more you contribute, the more opportunities come back to you, often in unexpected ways. Legacy enters the conversation quietly. You start thinking beyond yourself, beyond quick wins, beyond short-term pleasure. You ask better questions. What am I building that lasts? Who am I becoming for the people who depend on me? What standard am I setting through my actions? This mindset deepens happiness and stabilizes wealth, because your goals are no longer fragile. And here's the final truth, the one that ties everything together. You don't become wealthy and happy by chasing wealth and happiness. You become wealthy and happy by becoming disciplined, valuable, focused, and aligned. When your inner world is ordered, your outer world follows. Boys. Most people never experience this because they quit too early. They distract themselves. They look for shortcuts. They mistake movement for progress. But you now know better. You know that slow growth is still growth. You know that quiet consistency beats loud motivation. You know that the strongest lives are built patiently, deliberately, and with intention. If this message resonates with you, it's not an accident. It means part of you is ready to level up. Ready to stop surviving and start building. Ready to trade comfort for clarity. Ready to become someone capable of holding both wealth and happiness without losing yourself. And remember this, the life you want is not reserved for the lucky. It's reserved for the disciplined. For the focused. For the ones who choose growth over comfort, meaning over pleasure, and purpose over noise, every single day. This is the path. Not the easy one, but the real one. And if you walk it long enough, wealth will come. Happiness will stay. And peace will finally feel normal.